everyone, and welcome to another episode of Taking Up Space, a Michelle A. Mayer podcast. Always excited about coming forward, y'all. Today is absolutely no different. Hot off the heels of my live presentation that I gave yesterday. Super excited about that. I'll be doing more of those as the weeks progress. I'm one of those people, when I say I'm going to do something, I look to do it. I know that I said I was going to upload an audiobook, but y'all, I'm thinking of just donating the book. I'm thinking of giving my book as a donation, as a gift to you all at no cost. So, you could read it, encouraging people to read. Even though I know when driving you want to listen to something. But that will be in the makings. I will make the decision on that within the next week or so as well. But I want to come on and discuss with you something that is leading to my Bible study. God has laid something on me, y'all. And I know it sounds cliche. I don't like to say things that sound cliche. I'm not a cliche kind of girl. I'm a person that does her own thing. I love to ponder my own path. I don't mind going it alone. It does not bother me at all. I find it very comforting because I know who I'm walking with. When I find myself on these paths with many people, sometimes it can confuse me, and I can't distinguish between where the energies are coming from. So I've become accustomed to walk in my path by myself, and I don't have any problem with it. I can do it in style and grace, or I can do it depressed. Either way, I'm gonna walk it. But when I say that God has been speaking through me, God has laid some things on me over the last week, and all these Bible studies I come up with, I just don't come up with them on my own. Some of them I do, but some of them a lot of them I'm led to, and I don't know that I'm being led until it gets to the point for me to release it. And this is the same way with this upcoming Bible study. I did the live yesterday, and I was speaking to my ideology as to how God feels about what happened to his son that he sent to the earth to help all of his brethren and all of God's children. I'm not talking about, how it has helped us and how we can cast all of our burdens on the feet of Jesus and be washed of our sins by faith and by baptism. I'm not speaking to any of that. I'm speaking to, if you were a parent, you had children off in a foreign land, and they behaved amongst one another while they are away from you in a distant land, or even not so distant. They're just amongst you, but they don't see you all the time. And they behave in that manner, and they do such wickedness amongst one another. And then they justify it by saying, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to be forgiven. How would you feel as a parent? Would it make you look at your children differently? And that brought me to the conversation of God changing his mind. That wasn't even intended to come into the conversation. That flowed into the conversation. God changing his mind as to his relationship with these children, their status. And after I ended that live discussion, I wrestled with it, as I always do after I end any of my commentary that I present to you. I don't just let it go. I always chastise myself and say, okay, could have did it better. Did I say this correctly? Or I said that wrong. I always beat myself up, because I hold myself to such a high regard when coming forward with this communication as I do. This is not fun and game. This is not, look at me. This is not that. This is, this is passion. Because this was not a decision I made. This was not organically planned out and executed on. This came with a lot of fear and confusion and force. And because of that, because I've been squeezed so much to do this, it comes forth with a different type of oil. It comes forth with a different type of passion. And that's why when I come on here, it seems like I'm overdoing it to myself. When I look back at these videos, I'm like, why was I so involved in that? Like, calm down. Because the force of which it is within me to come out is what is being conveyed. And that's what makes it so different for me. I don't know how else to explain it. It is the matter in which I have been put in front of you. It's not, okay, let me just go do this Bible study. No, it's, I need you to understand. I need you to get this. Because I'm not doing it to be seen or acknowledged. I'm doing it because I need to be effective at this. I honestly believe God is holding me accountable to my effectiveness in this. And that's why it comes forth with such enthusiasm and such passion. And that's why a lot of times when you see people saying, "Oh, you care too much about what people say. You haven't grown up enough. You haven't matured enough because you care too much about what other people say." You know what? In certain instances, that's true. But when you're in a situation where you feel like you're expounding upon your calling and it's bigger than you and it's not about a look, you do care about what people think and say as it relates to what you're conveying. Because it's all about the message. It is not about me. It is about the message. And if I could, maybe if I didn't have enough pride in myself, I could come on here in a bathrobe and deliver this message. But we live in a time where the children need to see a sign and a wonder. We've been in these times. All along these walks that these people have had, they have needed to see a specific type of sign and a specific type of wonder, regardless to God being God or not. Even God had to show these children a sign and a wonder. So you know that anyone that comes amongst them must do the same and more. So yes, at times I do care that you get it. I do. And at times I will over communicate. At times I'm going to circle the block to straighten out any kind of confusion as it relates to me, my intentions, what I stand for, who I'm representing, and what the message is. Because that's what it's about. Anything less than that would degrade the integrity of what I'm coming forth with. It's all about the message. It's all about you getting it. I wish it wasn't, honestly, because my life would be so easier if it wasn't about that. I could just say, you know what, I did that and I'm not worried about them. But I do worry about you. I do desire you to know. I do desire for you to step out of the shadows of some of the ignorances that we stand in and bask in the light of truth and knowledge. The weather is so much more better there. The winds are so much more calm. The sun is so much more warmer. So I don't know why I needed to say that. I needed to say that though. But yeah, that is the purpose. I need you to understand. Instead of judging, I need for you to sit for a second and just understand. And then you can go back to judging. Because I don't have a problem with being judged. It's cool with me. But as long as you're judging through truth, then I'm cool with that. Because I don't do ignorance. I'm the type of woman that I'm strong enough to face the facts, even if they are frightening and discouraging. I can face them as long as I know the truth. It's the ignorances, it's the shadow areas, the deceit, the deception that I don't do well in. And I don't live in those places. So I want to come forward because this is an extension of my live that I gave yesterday. And it has to do with God changing his mind. I thought it was going to end with that. I sat up and I laid up and I thought about it. And I thought, my mind went in 1,000 directions. And then something told me to open my Apocrypha. because I was going to prepare for the Bible study. And when I opened my Apocrypha, I opened it to Baruch, second Baruch, and boom, it was just there. And I said, okay, this is it. It all aligns itself, don't it? It really does. When you just release control or release a desire of a particular outcome, it all flows. So what I said yesterday, condensed version of it, was that nothing is permanent in this life, y'all. Everything that we see in this particular existence changes. It transforms from one state to another, whether young to old, happy to sad, hot to cold. Everything in this existence that we are all bound within will change. And the thing that changes it, the thing that transports this change and brings it upon, is time. Time changes everything. It is the vehicle that causes a thing to change. You can go from the most wicked person through time and experiences, you will be converted to the most angelic being. And you can go from the most angelic being, if not led properly, to the most demonic being. All things change in this life. You will get the full spectrum of this experience. That's why it's not good to judge. That's why it's not good to downgrade somebody. Because it's just a matter of time before you walk in those shoes in some capacity. So, in speaking to this, I opened to the book of Baruch, and I opened and I read chapter 17. Now, I want to give you this is going to be my Bible study. My Bible study is going to be on this because it has to do with God changing his mind. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I'm going to lead with this, the analogy of time and how time changes things. So, Baruch is the scribe of Jeremiah. And God, in his communications with Jeremiah, has communicated certain things that he wants done to the children. He's fed up with the children. He's fed up with the children, y'all, at a time. Jeremiah is in the Old Testament. Jeremiah is before Ezekiel and after Isaiah. So all of the transitions from Egypt to the wilderness, to the promised land, to the lots being allotted and blah, 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 all of that has happened. And God now is at a place where he's saying, I done had enough of this. These children have gone in and out, in and out. They're using God. They will fall out of alignment and then cry out to God for help and say, we're sorry. And God would remove the whatever punishment. And then they will fall out of alignment again and continue this process. And now God said, I'm done with you. We will get on this in the Bible study. Because I'm going to tell you, this Bible study that I'm going to deliver on Wednesday is going to be really, it's going to give you the beginning of these problems that we face. It's going to give you the beginning of it. I don't care what tribe of the children you're in. There's 12 tribes. Many of us say, we have many groups, especially my ethnic group, African American people. They say, well, how do we get in this space? How do we get in this? Oh, Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah, the book of Baruch, second Baruch, is telling you exactly how all of this happened. Because what God will allow to happen in second Baruch will be the birth of all that we befall today. Absolutely. God changed his mind. God said, I'm going to take this covering from you. I'm going to make you second or third or fourth or fifth or 12th. You're going to be last. And you're going to be disciplined because you couldn't handle being first. You didn't follow any of my laws. You didn't honor yourselves amongst the nations. You had no integrity. You did each other so dirty and so dishonorably. But we will get into that. I'm not going to go all into that today. It's going to be interesting Bible study. But today we're going to prepare for that. And we're going to talk about the backdrop. We're going to talk about how God came to this decision. How it could happen. I'm going to read. But before I read, remember, we're looking at time. Time changes everything. And God is going to really display exactly how time changes everything in this text. And I read. I'm going to start with chapter 16. And I answered and said, Lord, my Lord, behold, the years of this time are few and evil. And who is able in his short time to acquire that which is measureless? He's pleading with God, Barak. This thing that God has done I'm talking about taking the wind out of everybody. I want you to imagine this. God has come himself and his angels down to earth and has stood before Barak and said, I'm not even saying said, he did. We're going to get into that in Bible study. Took the baton from Israel, from the Hebrews, all you Hebrew Israelites. He took the baton from the house of the Hebrews, took it, took their crown off of their heads, and set it to the side. He didn't even hand it to any particular nation. He set it to the side. The baton, the scepter, and the crown. He set it to the side. And he said, I'm going to allow the other nations to compete for this crown. You cannot compete any longer. And whoever gets the crown will be your master. You will serve them. Just like that. Just like that. Now, we don't really get that right now. We don't really get the full totality of that. And that's why I got to paint a picture for you, friend. Only time we get that is when we have something tangible that we can reference to something such as that. When you look at Egypt, remember, Egypt is Israel's mother. Egypt was not corrupt initially. Egypt would become corrupted through what? Time. Just like Israel wasn't corrupted initially, Israel would be corrupted through what? Time. These children would suck from the breast of Egypt for over 400 years. Truly, yes, they would have their experiences and they would be negative in Egypt. But spiritually, God allowed these children to go to Egypt for a purpose because there was something necessary that Egypt offered these children. The Egyptians, when they first were in their holistic state, were not always out of alignment with God. We can see that in scripture. The Egyptians were not always out of alignment, just like the Phoenicians weren't always out of alignment. It would be time and experiences and exposure that would turn these people. But when the Egyptians were in their holistic state, they were in a state of greatness. They honored God, and God honored them. Their ability to utilize or to see forces of God in nature. Forces of their ability to see the God within them and to stand in totality of that God and the truth of that God is what set them apart and made them a spiritual Mecca amongst the entire planet. Absolutely. time and experiences that this would become corrupted, just like the house of Israel. So when you see Egypt and you see these big pillars of men, strong men, mighty men, standing or sitting on thrones, the only thing you can equate that to is something as significant as that. That's all you got. Something, where else do you have on the planet that can hold such power spiritually and might amongst men than to see such things in Egypt? It's marveling. It's marvelous. I don't care what spiritual background you're from. I don't care if you're a Buddhist in Tibet. You go to Egypt and you see it, it's humbling. God would come with his angels and break down the walls of Jerusalem, break them down in their face. All the greatness broken down. He would take all of and I don't want to get too deep into this because this is my Bible study. He would take all the precious things from it and leave that which the world, the mighty man of the earth could have and lay claim to. In these children's face. So breaking down the walls of Jerusalem would be like going to Egypt and breaking down Solomon's temple. Just breaking it down. Father, show me how to speak this as it is within me and ready to be birthed. Show me, lead me, and direct me. Chapter 17, and the Lord answered and said to me, so we see in chapter 16, Baruch coming and he's asking God, the years of this time are few and evil. We don't have a lot of time in this body, Father. And the time we have in this body, it's a lot of wickedness that we experience. We're confused. And who is able in his short time to acquire that which is measureless? Who is able within this lifetime to acquire all of this knowledge that is so measureless? It's not even enough time in life to even acquire such knowledge to overcome all of these issues that we overcome. That we need to overcome to be successful in life. And the Lord answered and said to me, with the Most High, account is not taken of time nor of few years. He don't care about time nor of no years. Listen to this. For what did it profit Adam that he lived 930 years and transgressed that which was commanded? What did it profit Adam, who lived 930 years? He lived a long time, and he still transgressed that which was commanded of him. So time don't have nothing to do with this. In fact, time is probably your problem. Therefore, the multitude of time that he lived did not profit him, but brought death and cut off the years of those who were born from him. It didn't do anything but make matters worse. The long life that Adam had of 950 years didn't do anything but give him enough time to transgress and ruin it for those that came after him. Wherein Moses suffered loss, in that he lived only 120 years. And inasmuch he was subject to him who formed him, brought the law to the seed of Jacob, and lighted a lamp for the nation of Israel. I just told you. Me coming forward, I'm going to use me coming forward doing these Bible studies as an example. The pressure to birth that which was within me and give up what I had inside of me in its full integrity. Made me think in ways of not in time, but in effectiveness. I didn't have time to placate it out and draw it all out and create it all beautiful for you. I had to just come forward and do it. And then in doing it, not just do it any old kind of way. I had to think in ways and align with God for God to direct me in ways to be able to display it to you in its fullness effectively. This is what the scripture is speaking to. Moses only had 120 years, and I don't want to come on here screaming. Moses only had 120 years. And in that time, he was subject to the one that formed him. He had a relationship with God. He saw God and brought the law to the seed of Jacob and lighted a lamp for the nations of Israel. Friend, Moses, this is deep. Moses saw God, whereas the children didn't see God. Moses would be the leader that would come from his time with Jethro back to these children. The man that knew both worlds. He knew Pharaoh's house and he knew the children's house. These are all people bound in Egypt. All of them. And he comes back to these children and he goes to Pharaoh and he tells Pharaoh what? Let my people go so that they can go and serve God in the wilderness. Not in the promised land, in the wilderness. I saw this today, reminded me of it. Let me go so I can serve God in the wilderness with these children. Why the wilderness? The wilderness because these children had taken upon themselves attributes of Egypt, which God knew they would. But certain attributes they did not need. Some of which they needed and some of which they didn't. And they would need time between where they started to where they would end up. And that time in between would be the wilderness. That wilderness time would allow them to know God. Friend, the time you spend in your wilderness is your time where you get your knowing. Do not discredit your wilderness. Most of your life will be in the wilderness, baby. I'm here to tell you. You're going to spend most of your life wandering around the wilderness. You're going to know your wilderness places. You're going to know what tools you need to successfully navigate them. You're going to see many people that you in the wilderness that you've seen over time. Some that made it a permanent residency. Some come and go. The wilderness is the time you spend in getting to know the God within you. It is the time that you build up your internal house. You make yourself strong and formidable. You gain your knowing in your wilderness time, friend. And in the wilderness time, these children would wrestle within themselves. They would want to go back. They would want to go back to the mistreatment because at least they knew it. They didn't know what to expect moving forward. They didn't know God. This was something completely new. Nobody did this. They come from a place where people honor multiple gods. That was the way of life. Not just in Egypt, but the entire world. This one honoring one God thing was unheard of. It was blasphemous at the time. They bought in, but they weren't all the way in. And whenever there would be some kind of a wind that would come, it could be a small wind, they would complain and complain and complain. Like we all do. Because, friend, look, Moses had the ability to see God. These children didn't see. They were depending on Moses. These people are depending on a promise from a man. And they're looking to see signs and wonders because that's all they had. It's easy to condemn someone and say, oh yeah, these children weren't doing this and that. They weren't doing it. But when you're in it, what else do you have? It's no other way. It's no other. I don't believe that they didn't. I believe these children suffered from not knowing if it was God or not. You got many imposters amongst you. This is what Baruch is talking about. He's saying that we don't even have enough time in this body to really figure this thing out. And there's so many evils around us. It's so many imposters. And the way you move, Father, you move through people that you condemn, which is confusing to us because we're looking like, okay, wait a minute, would God do that? I mean, is this God or is this an imposter? You can look through the Bible, look at Gideon, look at Jonah. Your God says, I'm not a God that cares about time. I gave Adam 950 years of life, and he did more destruction in that amount of time than Moses did in 120 years. Moses was more effective than Adam because Moses saw me. Moses saw me and Moses feared me. And that fear and that pressure got more out of Moses than it did for Adam, who wasn't under such constraints. Verse 18, chapter 18. And I answered and said, he that lighteth has taken from the light. And there are but few that have imitated him. He that lighteth hath taken from the light. He's talking about Moses. He that lighteth had taken from the light. He got something out of his relationship with God. It wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm not really going to pay attention to what is happening amongst me. I'm just going to be robotic and do this because I'm afraid. No, he actually loved it. He was in awe of it. He took it all in. He took it seriously. Once you understand a thing, you can take it seriously, friend. It's the gray areas that make you kind of like, okay, do I want to accept this or do I expel this? But when you know, Moses knew. And he lighted, he took the light that was given to him and he allowed it to resonate within him. And then he also offered it up effectively to the children, because none of the leaders of the children were more effective than Moses. Moses was effective. But those many whom he has lighted have taken from the darkness of Adam and have not rejoiced in the light of the Lamb. And this is the struggle. Those that he gave this light to and gave it to effectively, was patient with, looked stupid in front of. The children of Israel were mocking Moses at times because of his speech impediment. And he was so tall and he didn't look like a strong warrior man. But he had a light that he was able to absorb and pass on to all of them effectively. Yet they would take this light and they would take from the darkness. They would love the darkness more than the light. They would love the darkness more than the light. The light that is being handed to them so effectively. by one of them, they would not want to receive. They would rather receive the darkness. That's interesting. Because God would come upon Moses and Moses would embrace the light. Moses would take this thing so seriously. And it would be Moses' frustrations that would get him. It would be only Moses' frustrations that would get him denied from going into the promised land. He was frustrated with these people. He was. And you could understand how he could be. He was extremely frustrated with them. And he called them some rebels. He wanted to tell them off. In that instance, hitting that rock, disobeying God's law, caused him not to go into the promised land, caused him to thwart all that he had done before it. Yet had God come amongst these children, they would take it seriously. But because God uses one of them to be a middleman between them and God, they don't. This is where the dissension and the confusion is. It's when because God uses one of us to represent him. This is the problem. It's interesting. It's interesting that Moses would be in this wilderness and he would need this wilderness time to get these children acclimated to God. It would be the Mount Sinai moments that would get these children to a place where they could see the wonders of God and to buy into the concept. This is not a Bible study, but I just want to prep you. I want to prep you for the Bible study, y'all, because the Bible study is going to be about God changing his mind. God changing his mind. And, you know, a lot of times all of it is understandable. All of it. You can understand the children of Israel's portion of things. And when we get into the Bible study, I'm talking about Barak is going back and forth with God. God even says in his communications with Barak, he said, you are rightly astonished regarding the departure of man. He said, I understand why you're so shocked. Barak is fighting for this. This is serious. And he said, you got to understand this, Father. I know you see the bigger picture and I'm limited to my perspective. But look at what we're dealing with. And all the leaders that have led these children were probably in support of it. I know Jeremiah was. Jeremiah was in support of it. He said, do whatever you want to with them. You can't tell them anything. Nothing. And if you do, they're offended. They get offended with you and they want to off you. So this was my prep for the Bible study, y'all. And the Bible study, like I said, has to do with God changing the order of things. This is something that God has done many times. Like I said, God did this with the Levitic priesthood, changing it to the Davidic. God has done this with allowing the children to go into bondage. What is happening is, I didn't want to get into it, but what is happening is these children are being now going into slavery. This is the second time since Egypt that they've gone into slavery. So when they were in slaves in Egypt, they didn't really go into slavery. They were already in somewhat of a slavery kind of position because they were birthed in Egypt. So they didn't really know anything other than that. And now they've been led, and they've seen all these triumphs, and they've done all these great things. The God has made all of their enemies their footstools. They don't have an enemy. God has led them triumphantly. They know this God. And they've had a problem. I can understand if God said, this is the first time I've had it with you. But these children have gone in and out of transgressions with God. It's embarrassing how many times these children have gone in and out of transgressions with God. And God is saying, I can understand if you didn't know it was me. I can understand if you didn't know me. But you know me. And you know what you're doing. You know it's me. You just don't want to do it because it's not the easy thing to do. And you've gotten acclimated with the enemy's way because the enemy's way is easier. And every time I come upon you regarding it, you always plead and you ask for mercy, and I give it to you, and I'm done with you now. And they cannot believe that God is done with them. God is done with them. And when I tell you, when we look at these children going into slavery in Babylon, we don't look at it at the level that we should acknowledge it. This was a huge deal. This is a huge deal, y'all. This is like a superpower becoming dethroned overnight. This is not a small, insignificant group of people. This is the shift of all shifts. This is like when you look at Egypt and you see all of those monuments of people, all those strong men, all of those men were people. All of those people being dethroned overnight. Now imagine how they felt. They have no more power. Nations far weaker than them are able to overcome them, whereas they never were able before. And they have not ever bounced back from it. Not even till today. What we are looking at today, y'all, are the remnants of what has happened in this book. And I will get further on it on Wednesday. I just wanted to give you some backdrop. Give you a backdrop to it. Your loved one, you'll never know. I'll never stop telling you. Peace and love.